Hey guys, welcome back. It is your favorite Gimp with Limp, and I'm here with what's probably going to be the last video of Car Wars because the series could go on forever because I actually really do like the game. Before we get started, I did have a commenter who helped me out with a couple of corrections. I want to make sure and update you guys on that because I'm human, I make mistakes. One of the things, when we're talking about range with the weapons, this is not range 1. It's only 1 car length. So basically this is range 2, if you get what I'm saying, because it's the length of 2 cars. I went reading back through the rule book to confirm this, and there's only one spot that I could find that actually references that, and that is here. Range X can only be used within X car lengths of a target. And the big thing when we're talking about range gets into the defensive rules, later on into the rule book. And here we go. When it talks about range, the only thing it's really referencing here is when it's talking about full car key turning length. So this is the key turning token thing, whatever the hell they call it. But basically it's talking about that and saying however many full ones of these you can fit in between the 2 cars is how many defensive rerolls you get. Okay, great, cool, good stuff. But that's kind of, you're going to read that and you're going to think that's the range because that's what's talked about under range. So there should be another section there that addresses when we talk about range with weapons, a range 1 weapon will only be a range of 1 car length. A range of 2, will be 1 full turning key or 2 car lengths. That would have been a little bit better. So, yeah. But now we know and we can address it going forward. Also in here, I did go back and read the rule book again, and I had missed the part where it was talking about defending. And when I was reading here, I missed the fact that that wasn't a basic damage where it has the 1, a star with a 1 in it. It was the tire damage, a star with a 1 with the tiny little tires underneath it. So tire damage can be negated, and not only can it be negated, it must be negated first in your defensive rerolls. All right. So when you're doing your defense rolls and you're negating all your damage, do tires, then do basic damage. Go on from there. That was a mistake on my part. And just to make sure I address it, because this was addressed, since these are what I'm using for the layouts for the cars. Anytime I talk about someone using a weapon twice, I'm not talking about them using the same weapon twice, but 2 copies of the same card. So if this Slipstream, Red as I call him, were to take and fire the machine guns twice, he's using 1 crew member each, so driver and gunner, to fire this machine gun and then fire this machine gun. They're not firing the same machine gun twice. Make sure you keep track of that. So like if they were to fire the rear weapons, the Wasp back here, the shredder weapon, they would each be able to fire it because there are 2 copies of this card pointing in the rear. Do some damage that way. Same thing as when you're firing your forward missiles. Each guy could fire a missile and then those would be flipped because they're one-offs and done. All right, so to save us a little bit of time in the rest of the video so I can get into a little more shooting and some final combat and some final thoughts and all that good stuff, I went ahead and got the dashboards set up, did the check speed, take control, manage fire step, because I did have a fire here to manage on Red because he'd been set on fire on his right side. So I went ahead and took care of that, and we are going on into the movement phase, which is going to start with Boomerang, then go to Ecto 1, then come back to Red, and then go to Goblin. Because remember, I'm zigzagging back and forth as we go across on this one. So we're going to pan around and we're going to start movement with Boomerang, and we'll do all the movement and come back and get into a little bit of shooty and then some probably final thoughts of the game. All right, so we'll get cracking in here, and unfortunately, it didn't pan out as well as I was wanting. Ecto-1 had different ideas. Red had different ideas. Unfortunately, Red's tires had taken so much damage that he couldn't get up to his full speed that he wanted to. He would have been one car length further, which would have opened up the sight lines for Boomerang over here to put some fire in. Ecto-1 wanted to try to go slow, so he had geared down so he could try to keep Red in his sights, which actually did work because he does have a nice sight line to Red's side that is hurting, so that's going to work out in his favor. Sure, we'll start with Boomerang. Boomerang is shooting across partial cover, which is the car, which automatically gets Ecto-1 one just flat defense. So he gets one shield right off the bat. So we're going to fire a couple of different weapons here to try to mitigate some of this stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to fire the electro laser, which gives us 2 and just a single red die, but I'm doing that with my gunner that gets to add a blue and a yellow to his attacks. And then I think, should I do the longbow or should I do the guaranteed 2 damage? Because it's only 1 red die. I mean, the guarantee of 2 damage is nice, plus the potential to cause a fire on him, and he's got no armor on that side, but yeah, I think we'll go with a longbow. All right, so we're going to do gunner fires the electro laser, and the driver is going to be firing the longbow. All right, so this is what our gunner gets to roll for the electro laser, and I'm going to go ahead and take a couple of dice and just put the hits in just so I remember that he gets them. Those are the guaranteed. And then he only gets 1 defensive reroll for his, or not 1 defensive reroll, 1 roll for his speed of 1. And he gets 1 automatic defense for the partial cover. So the low speed is hurting him right now. And no defensive rerolls because he did not do a maneuver. He did a maneuver. He didn't. And Goblin did a maneuver. So only these 2 guys are getting defensive rerolls, but they're not the ones they're getting shot at. Anyway, so it's kind of a moot point. All right, let's roll for Red, or not for Red, for Boomerang. See what he's going to get damage-wise. Oh, come on, good stuff. Let's see. Oh, I wanted that to cause some more damage. All right, that's 4 damage. And do I have anything that will give me an offensive reroll? No offensive reroll. So he's doing just a flat 4 damage to the side of Ecto-1. Red die's not doing anything for us, but the 2 bonus guaranteed from that laser is good. And then the 2 that we rolled. And then he gets to roll his single and hope for the best, which is nothing. So he does block out 1, which means a total of 3 damage going into Ecto-1 over here. And since that side is the side that is taking all the damage so far, it's out of armor. He's almost out of armor completely anyway. So he's going to be taking cards internal. I'm going to shuffle these up and just draw 1 down at random. Which one feels good? I like this one. And see what he's going to get. Now remember, I'm using A deck for the lower value cars, and B deck is for higher value cars. Over 24 points, I think, is B deck. So let's see what he gets. Structure, accessory, weapon, and then power plant, and 3 damage going through. He has no structure, no accessory on that side. He does have a weapon, so he'll take 1 damage into the weapon and 2 into his power plant because the weapon is a limit 1. Actually, I wish it were limitless or limit 2 because that would destroy that weapon and he would lose his right side flamethrower. But that is all right. Couple of damage into his power plant is good stuff. And just so you guys can see what we're doing over here, right side will throw down a damage token on it to signify the fact that this has taken 1 point. He's got 2 points there. 1 more point into that weapon, and he's just done. He's cooked. And then, just like before, when we do damage into the power plant, we just kick that down. He's down to 8 points, a few more, and he is off the board. So that takes care of him. But now we're going to be firing with Ecto 1, and he's finally going to get to use those flamethrowers, which are range 2. Frontal arc does cut across right here. Let's pan her up. You guys can see that does cut right across the top of Red, so he can go into him. But it's not the best dice. Oh, actually, no, it is. It's 2 guaranteed damage too, right off the bat. Ooh, he might cook Red. See, he gets a yellow, he gets a black, and he gets a blue on top of 2 guaranteed damage. Damn, those flamethrowers are hot. All right, so he's got 2 flamethrowers. Driver and gunner will take and fire the flamethrower. Remember, that is just range 2, which is this, not 2 of these. So I was wrong about that. Red was going speed 3. Unfortunately, he would have been a little bit farther. If he had gotten not that much tire damage, he would have been out of range of that and just been able to take a little bit of handgun fire, and that would have been it. But that's all right. See if they'll cook Red off the board. So he will get the 3 dice for his speed, and the special bonus that he has for his driver, he gets to roll and gets either control or a ace token. He did get an ace token, so he will be able to use that, but that's it. For these 2 attacks, he's got 1 token. He better hope he does well with it. All right, so first attack. Going through, any wrenches will cause fire. Yep, and they caused a fire. So that's 3 damage. And no re-rolls for him. Ecto 1 does have a bonus when it comes to his handgun, but not for these weapons. So he has set that side on fire again, which is bad for Red because he does not want to be taking any more internal damage. And still 3 damage. The 2 base damage that the flamethrower does, and the 1. Rolling his 3 defensive die, see what he's going to get. And we'll give it to him even though it's a little cocked. That will negate 2 of them, and might as well use it. See if we can block out this 3rd. Nope, it is a whiff. So lost his ace token. He was able to block out 2 of the damage though. So he's going to take 1 into his side, which does not have any armor. So I'm going to set that there for now, just so I remember it. And we will do that one more time. All right, so there's his base. There's what he gets to roll, and there's his defensive roll. And I've already flipped him over to on fire. Second attack with a separate flamethrower. He's already on fire, so nothing there. Just another single point added on top of the 2 base. Another 3 damage going through. Ooh, Red is eating a lot of hurt right now. And he whiffed bad. Oh, just another one blocked. So he's taking a total of 3 damage into him. Let's grab one of those cards and see what he's going to get. All right, grabbing one out. Let's see. Let's go with this one. See what it is. And he's going to be taking damage to his structure, his tires, accessory, gunner. Ooh, gunner, bad. And power plant, no limit. All right, so he doesn't have any structure. Limit 2 to his tire. Oh, God. His tires are already cooked. His tires are going to be down to like 2 points. And then no accessory, 1 point going to the gunner. All right, and like before, we can just throw a single token down to represent that and to let you guys see how bad his tires have gotten. Tick, tick. Yeah, he's not doing well. He's doing real bad right now. He's almost done as far as his tires are concerned. But now he does get to return some fire. Honestly, that's about as well as he could have hoped for, considering the amount of damage he could have taken. All right, and for this last one with Red going in, don't worry, I forgot Goblin's back over there. Ecto Ecto's still got his 1 for his speed, and I could fire the shredder behind, but honestly, I'd be just chipping away at Goblin's frontal armor, and I want to see if I can put any more hurt into it. So we're going to fire the hand cannon. And I was wrong about that previously. I think it was the first video I mentioned it. Both people can use the hand cannon. Anyone can use the hand cannon. So hand cannon is 3 blue dice, but one of them I do have a targeting bonus, so I can add 1 blue die to 1 attack each round. We're going to do it to the first attack, and then I have 1 reroll from like a targeting synchronizer thing. So I can reroll 1 die per attack and add 1 die to just 1 attack, period. So first attack is 4 dice, second attack will be 3. And oh, what a horrible roll. 1 reroll. Still crap, so a single. If he gets a shield, he blocks this out completely, which he didn't. So that is a single point of damage. And his second hand cannon attack against him. And another 2 shields. How many shields are on this thing? Was it 3? Yeah, it's 3 and 3. All right, so he got 1, and we'll reroll a single die. No! Another point. All right, that was weak. Shield, he blocked it. 1 point of damage. 6 dice, 7 dice attacking for 1 damn point of damage. Oh, all right, let me grab just top card off the deck here. Structure, accessory, weapon. Okay, this is good. That actually kills one of his flamethrowers. Doesn't have structure or an accessory. Structure, again, things like armor. Accessory, things like the targeting synchronizer that he was using. Weapon, obviously, is weapon. So he's lost his right side flamethrower. That's actually really good. Taken down, Peg. Now the only weapons that Ecto-1 actually has left is 2 rear-firing missiles and 1 flamethrower and the hand cannon. You always have the hand cannon. Can't lose it, but the hand cannon is only side arc, so you would have to kind of pivot around and twin laser turn the thing down. Let's see who gets that reference. All right, last set of attacks for this round are coming from Goblin. He's sticking with his twin-linked machine guns. So red is going to have still 3 yellow dice for his defense rolls, but no... Actually, he might just get... Yes, he does get 1 defensive reroll for each one of these attacks. Because of the range, we're 1 turning key farther than 1 turning key away. But normally that would be a 2 die, 2 blue, 1 white, 1 black attack. But the gunner for the Goblin adds 2 blue dice to each attack. So 4 blue, 6 total dice for this attack. That is just sick. So 2 of these twin link machine guns are firing. Again, not just a single. So he's getting to do this attack twice, which does also have built-in 2 free offensive rerolls, which is just brutal. Unfortunately for Goblin, he's only firing at the rear armor of Red, who only has, or still has 4 armor. He hasn't been hurt at all in his rear, although he's definitely going to be after this. So, first attack is a whiff. These are tire damage, which now I know can be blocked. 2 rerolls. And good grief. For a weapon, for a die that has 3 of each on it. These roll hard to the defensive side. All right, so his 3 defense dice. And sorry if the table's shaking a little bit. I'm at the edge reaching over. And no rerolls. So he's blocking 1 of the tire damage. So he's taking 1 armor damage. We'll take that down. And another bit of tire damage. His tires are down to 1. He's so beat up right now. It's brutal. He's going to spin out each time he tries to turn. I don't think he's going to be able to really steer now because his tires have been basically blown off. All right, second attack. Ooh, and I forgot. He did have a defensive reroll for this attack. Let's spend it. Doesn't matter. And second twin link machine gun, which whiffs hard. Okay. We'll re-roll a couple of these blues because I think they're better than the white and the black. Not by much. Oh, that's better. That is better. So his defensive rolls. Good grief, we'll re-roll one of them. Which does block the tire damage, which means his rear armor is completely stripped. He lost all 4 of his rear armor and a point of tire damage. All right, so as we finish up this third round here, it's kind of still anybody's game because both sides have focused on the same objective, which is taking out the weaker of the opponent's cars. Ecto 1 is torn up. Half his weapons are gone. He's already taken a fair amount of power plant damage. Most of his armor stripped. But Red's pretty much in the same boat. He still has his weapons, so he's a lot more offensive. But it's going to be very hard for him to actually get his weapons pointed at anything since his tires are almost completely blown off, which is really going to hurt his ability to get control markers. And he does have something that helps with that with his driver and a bonus, but he has to get his speed up so high to get that bonus that it's kind of negated. It'd be better for him just to slow down to speed 2 and turn as best he can back around and try to keep his something, whatever side hasn't been blown off. Let's see. He only has armor on his left and his front. Currently, his rear and his right side completely gone. Ecto 1 only has armor on his rear and a little bit left on his right side, and I think a point or 2 left on his front. So yeah, they've been pretty well torn apart. But I think this goes to show you guys really well the point differences and how much more potent the cars are once they have that extra build points. And you can really set up the build points to whatever level game you want, right? These smaller cars are 10 build points. The bigger cars, I think they're 26. Were they 20? Yeah, the bigger cars are 25. So they're 2.5 times more potent than the smaller cars. You guys can see easily how much of a difference that is making, especially with the defensive abilities they have. The built-in armor. I mean, it makes all the difference in the world. And I do like the fact that they thought of that when it came to it, because lower value cars aren't going to have as many things on them like accessories and structure points. So they built up 2 separate damage decks to account for that when it comes to gameplay. So what do I think of the game in total? I like the game. I think it's fun. Is it fun to play solitaire? Yes. And you guys can kind of hear how I'm saying that. I've had fun playing it, just poking around with it on my table. But I think this is one of those games that is probably always going to be better against someone else than trying to play it by yourself. Especially when it comes to things like building out your cars. You really want to see what your opponent brings to the table and see if the Frankenstein's monster that you've been able to create can beat whatever they're going for. Did you go heavy on defense and tanky and, not put as many points into weapons? Or did you try to create a little speed demon that could just zip around your opponent and strip them down piecemeal? Designing your cars that way is just, I think, the funnest part of the game, and seeing what your opponent brings. It really does remind me a lot of X-Wing, and that the types of vehicles that your opponent can bring, but the upgrades that they put on them make all the difference in the world. Yeah, this game's going to be for people who like Warhammer 40,000, people who like Gaslands, people who like X-Wing, Legion, tabletop miniatures games. But if you want something that has a different feel to it, especially if you're into Gaslands, I see no reason you wouldn't like this. But after having played Gaslands, I think the mechanics for Gaslands can be a little, I don't know. It's kind of hard to describe it. I think the components now, right, with everything that you get, all the models, all the good stuff, the dice, the tokens, the little player boards, all that real cool, awesome stuff. I think that is what's setting Car Wars apart now. But I almost like the structure, the engine of Gaslands a little bit better. And in a way, Gaslands is more personalized because you build your own car. So you take your Matchbox car, you strip it down, you put the little wire mesh pieces in it, you find little weapons to glue onto them, paint them, make them all rustic. You get to make it your own in a way that you don't with a game like this. Now, that's not to say that you couldn't, especially since these cars literally do just have a couple of holes on the bottom. You can measure that out, see the two different sizes, Dremel that out, and put your own Matchbox cars on there. So it's not like you can't do that easily if you wanted to. But Gaslands does have rules for things like vehicles that have treads or war rigs. And I'm not saying it's not in Car Wars 6th edition, but Car Wars 6th edition seems much more streamlined than that. Something you can get to the table much quicker and easier and with a lot less effort than you have to put in for something like Gaslands. So I would almost think of Car Wars as one you want to play and have fun, beer and pretzel style with your kids or your buddies, drinking some beers, watching a game on TV, and playing some Car Wars versus Gaslands, where it's more of that in-depth hobby. You know, that's your focus, right? You're having to put a lot more energy and effort to get Gaslands to the table rather than Car Wars. And that's the thing. I'm not saying either is better than the other, and I hate it when I kind of fence sit like this, but they each have their pros and cons, that things that they bring to the table that the other doesn't. And you're really going to have to look for yourself to see which one you want. If you don't like modeling and you don't like tearing apart cars to create your own experience, then Gaslands is probably going to be the one that you avoid and you go for Car Wars instead. Yeah. And speaking of innovative things, my little robot vacuum just started up. That was the noise you just heard in the background. My apologies. I had to pause him for a second. So yeah, I absolutely like Car Wars 6th edition. It's one that I'll recommend to anyone who wants something vehicular like that you want to get to the table, especially if you want to have a fun game to play with your kids that's not going to take you forever to learn. Some of the small little niggles, like the fact that the rule for range was only one line in the rule book in an area that was a little bit easier to miss. That kind of bothered me a little bit, because when you go look under range, it should be in there. Unless I've read that section 3 times and missed it every time. And I'm not saying that's beyond possible. It's possible. I'm human. Having it in there and just that little snippet, that was irritating. Little mistakes that I made. That's what it is. People make mistakes. Now, I'm not sure if they're taking this to retail. I wouldn't be surprised if they did, with especially as much investment and stuff as they've created. This is another one that, and I'm trying not to drag on, but giving you guys the full picture. This is another one that I'm kind of thinking along the lines of Hellboy, that if you didn't get all the Kickstarter bonuses, I'm not saying that the game's not worth it. There's still plenty of game in the core box, but the amount of difference of stuff, especially considering all the stuff in this game, is stuff like cards, accessories, structure points, crew, drivers, all that other stuff that you can add. The cars aren't as much of a big deal, because a lot of the times after you kind of get past your first few games, the cars aren't really going to be modeled with the weapons specifically on them. You're going to put down whatever cards that you want. So there is that chance that you're losing out on a fair amount of stuff, right? And I hate that. I hate that FOMO thing. It's part of the reason I like Kickstarter and don't like Kickstarter, because you can back something, and for the price that you would pay at retail, you get 1.5 times as much stuff as you would have just getting it retail. But the problem with is if you miss the Kickstarter, or you decide not to and want to see how it comes out, and then later you decide to get it, you find out, well, I either have to buy a scalped version on eBay or, another site, or get that lesser experience, which Hellboy, while an excellent game, was definitely one of those experiences. The key part in that one, and go watch my 5-minute review, you'll see what I mean, was the fact that you couldn't get the expansion that allowed you to create random scenarios, and the core box only came with 6. So once you played those 6 scenarios, that's it. That was like your game. Plus you only had, I think, like 2 bosses and 1 set of enemies. All right. So once you were done with that was it. That was like the game. But it was still, depending on where you got it, like $70 to $100, just depending on location and price at the time. It did go on sale later. But it was a prime example of missing the Kickstarter meant that you missed so much game that it wasn't necessarily worth picking up at retail. This one does not fall in that category, but it's close. It's hovering around that little black hole, just due to the sheer amount of cards and accessories, expansions, stuff that you're not going to get with the retail if they go to retail. I'm not saying that they are guaranteed to do that. Anyway, I've rambled on enough. I know I can get a little rambly for you. But yes, Car Wars 6th edition, great game, much fun, love it. I'll definitely be cracking it out on the table to play with my kids, especially giving each kid a car or so many stock points and say build out something fun and have us all play together. I think that would just be an excellent experience. But if you guys have any questions about the game, any comments, further stuff you want to see, by all means, feel free to put it down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Y'all take care.